Hello, everyone. This is Chala, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. I haven't had tea on this show for a very long time. That just goes to show you it's probably been like, gosh, I've been doing this show since COVID. So I guess I haven't. I mean, I used to have tea during COVID, but yeah, I've been on the protein kick. I'm just trying to get more protein every single day. It's not working. I'm getting on average about 100 grams, but I'm supposed to be getting 140, 130. And I just can't seem to just fit in that extra 30. But you didn't come here for a fitness show. I might start that one of these days, but not yet. That's just a passion. That's just talking about it, reading about it, writing about it all day long. And my other passion, sales and marketing. And we are off. I'm off next week to Nashville to the WeBank conference. I've got my trusty postcards for when I'm going to be polishing pitches at the event, at the trade show at the ExxonMobil booth. And I'll also be doing on the 21st a closed door sponsored by Capital One special executive roundtable. And I wanted to, for those of you who weren't invited or couldn't be there, wanted to give you a sneak peek of what I'm going to be doing in this executive roundtable. And this is the topic of the roundtable: is the creating a six-figure differentiator to land a corporate client for a B2B service-based business. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a dry run as if I'm doing it, and it'll be good for you guys too to see how it's done and how. I mean, an executive roundtable, I have a very short presentation, like 15 minutes, but the rest of it's going to be a facilitated discussion between 10 B2B CEOs that are WBEs, which are women business enterprises, who have businesses ranging from 1 to 5 million, which is my sweet spot. And they'll be talking about, how they have created six-figure differentiators. What are some of the issues that they're having selling to corporate? What are some of the tips that they can give each other? So this is a private group. It's a private setting. I do these all the time. I used to do them on Zoom during COVID and a little bit afterwards, but when there's an opportunity for in-person, I definitely take it. So I am so looking forward to Allison QB and I are going to be hosting this. She's going to be facilitating the majority of it. I'll be doing the presenting up front. And here's the presentation. So I start off by talking about, how for 18 years I spent saying no to corporations who were trying to sell to me, because I used to work at Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay, and I used to be in sales and marketing. And, these are some sexy brands that vendors are pitching day long, all day, all night. And so from then till now, it's been 18. So no, it's been 10 years now. So 11 years now. And I've been on every news, like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox 20. I'm actually going to be on TV in Nashville on News Channel 5 in the morning show called Talk of the Town, where I'll be bringing an adoptive dog. And I'm actually going to mention this because I'm so excited about this. The book tour, it's a book tour, and it's just continuing from where we left off during COVID, and it was launched during COVID. But the exciting part is the book is called How to Make Anyone Like You in 7 Seconds or Less. And one of the parts of the segment is talking about how dogs make instant friends, and how if we could also as humans act the same way that dogs do, not sniffing weird places, but as friendly as they can be instantly. Like, they give you the credit instantly. They're not reserved, they're not shy. I mean, I don't know, I guess maybe I don't know that much about dogs, but so as part of the segment, I'm going to be bringing this adoptive dog from a shelter that specializes in retraining unadoptable dogs. So it's because if they're too fragile, if they're too aggressive, if they've been traumatized too much, they actually retrain them. They go to the shelters and they look for these, like, damaged souls, and they retrain them to be able to make them adoptable. So I've never even heard of such a thing. It's just so beautiful. And that is their niche. Apparently, every shelter has a niche. So this has nothing to do with marketing, but I'm just telling you that I was just blown away. That's just going to be part of the TV that I'll be doing. So we're going to be bringing one of those adoptive dogs. And apparently, they have on hand a lot of smaller ones, which I thought the bigger ones would have been more aggressive and harder to adopt. But well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm really excited. So getting back to my, what I do now, after my 18-year corporate career, now I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've spoken at like places like NASDAQ, Harvard Club of Boston. I've written 4 books, one of which is going to be the topic of this TV appearance. And then I've spoken literally for the last 11 years, almost at 100 events and conferences. And I spend as much time as I want with my little guy. Well, he's not so little, he's 13. And with my passion working out, which, I need to get better at because I have to drink more protein and eat less other stuff. So what is the problem? So when we're looking at creating a 6-figure differentiator to land more corporate clients, the problem is that 4 out of 5 WBEs I've met have never gotten, a business out of meeting. And these are procured meetings with buyers of large corporations. And one of the biggest problems is 86% of these buyers can't see any real difference between the vendor that they're meeting and the one that's in front of them, or the one that they have that they're already working with, or the one that's next to them. Like 2 companies are pitching, and there's just really no difference that they see between these 2. However, so get this, only 14% of buyers think suppliers bring true value, while 56% of vendors think they bring value. There's a huge disconnect between what the buyers are thinking and what the vendors who are pitching are thinking. So what is this cause? Like, what is the consequence of this problem of not being able to differentiate, of not being able to bring any real value? And so it's basically wasted marketing budgets. So that costs, on average, companies minimum $1 trillion a year. So this is a statistic from a source called the B2B Lead. The other bad statistic is, so that's the wasted marketing dollars. The other one is the wasted sales dollars. So B2B sales waste on average over 38 grand per year in direct costs on meetings that go nowhere. I would have thought it would have been more. And 62% of initial meetings don't go to the next one. That's more than half. Like, that is just unacceptable. How much money is wasted, right? And then what that turns into is that 61% of companies miss their sales targets every year. So those are some stats too, and that may change according to year, according to economic factors, and it could also change according to the industry. But it's pretty grim what this lack of differentiation is costing businesses, and this lack of providing value or being able to prove value. So why aren't the existing solutions working? You might be asking. These very smart people, the business owners, the ones that are going to be in the room, what is it that they're not doing well, or that what they're doing isn't working? Why is that happening? So one is because even if they're certified, diverse certified, and they're meeting with supplier diversity officers, the diversity officer themselves have nothing of value to pass on to the actual buyer if there's nothing different about you. So that's one. The other one is, even if you get into a buyer's meeting, what happens is you're no different. So they have nothing to say to you if there's nothing different. And I know I've been in that situation. I've been a buyer for 18 years. Then there's also the issue that your sales reps are also confused because they don't know who to sell to. They don't know what to sell first. There's no prioritization. There's no differentiation. There's no there's no strategy because they've just been told to go and get it, go and get the sales, and they really are not really equipped sometimes to know how. They're just relying on what their training is, and they're relying on who they know, like their own Rolodex. And if they're lucky enough to be in the same industry, they're going to fall back on that Rolodex. Great. Existing marketing tactics like social media and trade shows have low ROI, and they don't engage corporate, like top level corporate decision makers, because most executives don't network in public or in large masses, or public groups. They're usually important people are in small rooms like this one, like the one that I'm going to be in. And marketing departments don't know what kind of emails, voicemails, or scripts that get paid attention to, or presentations get the executive's attention. They've just been trained in the same old. They're not trained in how to do differentiation, segmentation. They don't know how to find a niche, all of which is what I'm going to talk to you about today. So I've been there, believe it or not. I mean, when I launched my business, and at the time, I had just left I had left my corporate because this was my dream of having my own business. I started off like these people that I'm describing. I became a generic coach. I went and I certified, and then after coach school, I had just left a 6-figure salary, and I was literally starving, and I couldn't believe what was happening to me. I tried to sell everything to everyone. I wasn't niched. It wasn't even super niched. I spent money on every marketing tactic, and I got nowhere because I didn't have the strategy that I'm going to talk to you about today. So what I did was I learned I took a step back. I hired some coaches. I looked at what I had done for all these brands that I had launched for 18 years. And what I learned was I have to super niche myself. And what I did is I super niched, and I'll tell you exactly what a super niche is. I super niched in polishing elevator pitches for diverse businesses. So I had a very specific target, and I had a very specific problem that I solved for them. And the results were I quadrupled my income after the age of 40. And I work only half the week or half the day, whichever you look at it. I have all the flexibility in the world. I spend a ton of time, with my son, taking him to his therapies, to his appointments, with, my own interest, which is the gym. And I've improved my sleep, my health, my relationships. Everything has gotten better for me since I've become a business owner, and since I've super niched myself into this niche. So to remind you, in this presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to engage the top decision makers by developing a 6-figure differentiator, and how to message to engage the buyer, and then where do you find these decision makers to actually reach out to them. So first, I want to share the story of my client, Jill Williams. And what she did was she had an IT company. She was a diverse business owner. And when we re-niched her, or super niched her, into healthcare and helping healthcare reduce the call wait times in their call centers, and we sub-branded the company called On Hold Rescue, she was able to sell $805,000 within a couple of months. I'm going to have to take a sip. You know what? This dry run is really good for me because, one, I'm seeing my timing, how I can get off track and hijack the conversation, but also I have to keep it tighter, but I also have to get some lozenges because I'm still getting over this stupid virus. Okay. Okay. So what are the steps to finding this elusive magic super niche? The first one is the targeting. Pick the target. So by now, you know that the quickest way to a 6-figure differentiator is to super niche. And what is a super niche is when you have a very specific target and you have a very specific pain point to specialize in. So the combination of those two is called the super niche. So what does this do is it provides a focus to aim your pitch at. So it gives you a very clear picture of who to pursue. It makes you more relevant for your prospect because you're now a specialist both in their pain and their industry, and you speak their language now, and they can find you in their world. And the third is it becomes a differentiator in your industry. So in your industry, it becomes a differentiator for you. So I tell another targeting success story is a client went from having a generic promotional products company. The name of her company was called NEAD, NEAD. And when we re-niched her into selling to mortgage brokers. And the pain that she helped solve for them was they gave away so many promotional products, but never got any ROI from it. So she developed QR code tags as part of her business, where she actually created funnels of contact lists for anybody who would order a product from her, that she would already have a turnkey solution for them to have a tappable, downloadable list of people who were at the show. And this was a phenomenal differentiator for her. And she had a lot of success with that change. And of course, the name of her company changed to Gifting for Growth. So that's another switch in her differentiator. That was a six-figure differentiator, multiple six-figure differentiator. So what's the step number 2 to developing this six-figure differentiator is picking a sweet spot specialty, which is the pain, right? The most differentiated, just to remind you, the most differentiated buyer engagement strategies are super niched, and the specialty needs to be about one facet of the pain. So she solved not just the sales problem, like they're just looking for more clients, but she solved the problem of the ROI from events. That was one facet of the increasing their sales problem. And why is pain important is because 70% of humans purchase based on pain, and only 30 purchase based on improving something. So the most dangerous way to pick your niche is to guess at it, which is why we have a whole bunch of systems and structures to be able to do it strategically, which is the way that I learned at Pepsi. So here's another example of a client who did it. So Richard's company was called GR Marketing Strategist. He had a marketing strategy company before we met. And when he hired me, he wanted more clients. And when we super niched him into helping food manufacturers like the sauce lady and the cookie guy. And the name of his company became fooddistributionguy.com. And his super niche became these food manufacturers, the small food manufacturers, and their number one pain that he was going to help was to get them listed in grocery chains, because they had really tough time getting listed and also staying listed, because if they didn't sell enough, they'd be delisted. So that's what, and he had so many sales after his repositioning that he asked his girlfriend to marry him at the age of 61 and invited me to the wedding. And I always talk about that. So step number 3 is what happens after you differentiate or you find your super niche is that you message it. It's called your messaging. So part of that is your elevator pitch formula. And I wanted to give you the best one that I know of, that I've, borrowed, developed, you name it. And it's you take the target plus the target that you help, plus the problem that you solve, plus how you help. And that's your elevator pitch. And I to enhance the effectiveness, I also add a pain statistic and the result. So here's mine is 3 out of 4 business owners, like you heard it at the beginning, WBEs never get asked for their information or a meeting after they present themselves, their elevator pitch to a buyer. And what I do is I change what they're saying so that every hello turns into a request for a meeting. So that's my elevator pitch. And I'll give you another example of a client, a coach, a leadership coach client. We repositioned her into becoming a problem-solving leader, problemsolvingleader.com. And her tagline became creating fearless decision makers, because her niche became her elevator pitch went from, we're an executive coaching firm who helps companies improve leadership, to we help manufacturing companies reduce the 1.4 billion in production delayed losses due to the inability to make a decision amongst the managers by teaching them these skills. So she went very specific she went from a very generic leadership coach to a very specific decision-making coach. So the last part is part 4 is where to find them. Industry events, industry virtual, in-person meetings, trade shows, their LinkedIn, their publications, their industry podcasts, their any kind of group that hangs out by their industry. And the way to connect is you join the events, you become a speaker at the events, you actually network at the events, you sponsor the events. You connect to them, you ask about their pain, you get to know them on a personal level. And then you implement your buyer engagement strategy, which is you have a very specific pain that you actually give them advice on when you do connect with them. Constantly send them resources about their pain. It's all about them. Offer to give them more free advice in free meetings, like strategy meetings. And the last one that I want to say to you is send them a hook door opener. And the hook door opener is something. It could be an everyday object that's every day, but it's striking because you're sending it with respect to the problem and the solution. So for example, one of my clients does industrial cleaning, and their number one differentiator is that their workers, their cleaners, never leave. So that ensures, meaning they have huge, like 400 times the retention of the actual average of the industry. So what I came up with is a bottle of glue, the white iconic bottle of glue, where they would put the messaging, "Our people stick with us." And so what's the benefit to that of their target, which is hospitals, is that they actually get a very precise and well-trained team to continually clean the same way. Otherwise, when hospitals aren't clean, they have to shut down, wings and beds and waiting rooms and so on. So that's the presentation. That's how you come up with a 6-figure differentiator. That's how you message it, and that's how you reach out to the people who are in charge of these corporations and the decision makers to tell them that you can help them with this very differentiated pain point. Okay. I hope that was helpful. That went like 22 minutes. I'm really going to have to sharpen this up. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out, please let me know. If you're coming to the event next week, please also reach out and say hi. I'll be at the booth. All the best. Take care.